Good afternoon, everyone in India, and good morning to friends and attendees from Europe. A very warm welcome to all of you. Special day for France and Germany, and also a special day for the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, IFCCI, and Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, IGCC, to host this special virtual event on the occasion of Franco-German Day. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome the Director General of IFCCI, Ms. Payal S. Kanwar, and Mr. Stefan Halusa, Director General, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. Over to you, Payal, for the welcome remarks.
Thank you very much, Sonia, and I hope you can all hear me well. So I'd like to start with a good afternoon, bonjour, guten tag to everybody. First, I'd like to start by wishing you all a very happy Franco-German Day. This day holds a lot of significance and symbolizes the friendship between both nations. And this year we celebrate the 17th anniversary since the founding of this day. I don't think we could have found a better day to organize this flagship event. And it's also a crystallization of all of the work that's been going on since the past couple of months, I would say, between both of our chambers. I'm extremely pleased and delighted that we have a newfound cooperation with the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. And it's been truly great to see all the work that's gone in. Last year, as we know, was a challenging year for businesses in India and across the world. But both chambers had collaborated and organized some very impactful sessions with the local authorities in an attempt to help our companies navigate this pandemic and the lockdown in India. I'd like to start by extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Stefan Halusa, Director General of IGCC. I know you've just arrived in India, and I wish you all the very best for your new role. I'd also like to thank Sonia Prashar, who has been instrumental in putting this event together with us. We've been discussing this since just before Christmas, and it's great to see how quickly we were able to put this session together today. And of course, on that note, I'd also like to congratulate IGCC for their 65th anniversary that they are celebrating this year. IFCCI, as you all may know, is the official bilateral chamber between France and India, and we were founded 40 years ago in Mumbai by a group of large Indian companies such as the Tatas, Mahindras, the Godrej family. And 40 years on, the chamber has come a very long way. We now operate out of 5 offices in India. We represent a network of about 700 member companies, and we organize many events throughout the year. And of course, we've developed a number of other services such as policy advocacy. We run 16 committees at the chamber. We provide support to French companies coming into the country, and a lot of assistance in terms of HR and recruitment services. France is a very important partner for India and is one of the top investors in the country today. We have close to 1,000 establishments, and France is also a very important employer, so accounting for about 3.5 lakh jobs, so 350,000 jobs in the country. In order to mark the occasion of this symbolic day and to celebrate this between both countries, our chambers have come together to organize this session, and we will now hear from a number of leading and successful French and German companies today who will be talking about some of the best practices in sustainability and also cooperation in civil aviation. I'd like to thank our partners as well, GFAS and BDLI, which are both the leading French and German aerospace associations. I think that our chambers have a lot to learn from one another, and I'm really looking forward to developing this relationship in the future. So thank you very much, and congratulations to both chambers once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Payal. Over to you, Stefan.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Payal, and a warm welcome, obviously, from my side as well. I'm very happy to be here finally after pushing back the arrival date for a little bit. So really glad to be here on this very special event. Dear Samit Anand, President of IFCCI, dear Kesi Hillu, President of IGCC, dear panelists, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank IFCCI for taking the initiative of having this event today, which is, of course, a very special day, as you already mentioned, Payal, for French-German relationships. Today, 58 years ago, the Élysée Treaty was signed, the Treaty on French-German friendship by Charles de Gaulle and Konrad Adenauer. But I'm certain that the two ambassadors will put this day into a historical perspective and describe and explain what it really means for French-German relationships. I would like to take the opportunity, obviously, to thank both Ambassador Lindner and Ambassador Lenain for their addresses, which will follow in a little while. For me, the Élysée Treaty, as also the Roman treaties, which have been signed a little bit before and form the basis of today's European Union, the message that had been sent out with this treaty was that cooperation supersedes confrontation, which is a message that actually reverberates until today. So I agree very much with Payal that this event could not have been at a more suitable date. So two bilateral chambers, which represent a couple of thousand member companies, are bringing together ambassadors, representatives of associations and the industry to discuss potential and opportunities in India on a trilateral stage today. And as also you mentioned, IGCC has been involved in Indo-German cooperation and friendship for 65 years. We celebrated the Founders' Day as recently as last week. We are also headquartered in Mumbai with regional offices in Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore, Chennai, and Pune. And we have in addition a liaison office in Düsseldorf in Germany, which basically takes care of the topics of our member companies in Germany. We are, of course, providing a number of services to our members. I don't have to repeat them because I think they're very similar to what has already been explained by Payal. We are actively working in a network of partners, the embassy and the consulates obviously being among the most important ones, but also various institutions, trade promotion agency, innovation centers, the academia, which are present all over India, strengthening Indo-German ties. And of course, we gladly cooperate with the Indo-French Chamber to broaden the perspective and to jointly work on supporting our member companies, the member companies of both chambers in their endeavors in India. And obviously, some of the topics and interests are very similar. So it really makes a lot of sense that we bring our forces and our know-how and expertise together in supporting our member companies. Yeah, India has a great potential, and there are many opportunities in the country. Obviously, too many to discuss them just during one afternoon. This is why it was decided to focus on one industry today, aviation, an industry which is a pioneer in transformation, an industry that has always been on the forefront of the technological development, but also an industry that, at least on the commercial side, has probably suffered more from the pandemic than almost any other industry in the country and globally. Secondly, we focus on a topic which is relevant for all industries, which is responsible business and sustainability. Because it would be very short-sighted trying to solve one global crisis, the corona pandemic, by just running into the next crisis, climate change and global warming. So I think this is also the right topic to work on. We've been working on this with our partners also for the last month, and we will continue to do so. I leave it here at the moment, and I wish everyone a very interesting afternoon. And of course, I want to thank everyone involved in organizing and preparing today's event at French Indo-French Chamber, as well as the Indo-German Chamber, to bringing everything together here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Payal Eskanver. Thank you, Stefan Halusa, for your welcome remarks. It is our honor and privilege, especially to have the special address from the French ambassador to India, His Excellency Emmanuel Lenain, as well as the ambassador of Germany to India, His Excellency Walter J. Lindner. So now we have the messages from both the ambassadors on the occasion of Franco-German Day. organized by the IFCCI and IGCC.
Good afternoon, friends from IFCCI and IGCC. 2020 has been very challenging years for all of us, but we've seen some great example of friendship, of solidarity between France and Germany. When my country was severely hit by COVID, some patients have been admitted and transported to German hospitals to receive treatment, and we are very grateful for that. Also in India, our two embassies have been very closely working together to repatriate citizens, to exchange info, to source some medical equipment and drugs, and this also has been a great moment for all of us. Now, I'm very proud because the two chambers have been working together to join their efforts to promote, to assist our company to solve their problems, and that now today you're able to hold jointly this seminar, which is a great signal, and also to lobby together the Indian local authorities. This is a clear reflection of the fact that when Germany and France are together, we can, as we say in French, move mountains. This spirit was also at work a few months ago in Europe, in Brussels, for the historic decision to gather an envelope of 750 billion euros to promote recovery in Europe. I'm sure that the same spirit will now be very much alive in 2021, and that the two chambers will come with new initiatives to further our cooperation. But you can be sure that doing so, you will enjoy the full support of our two embassies. I wish you now a very good discussion, a very good seminary. Thank you.
That was a great message from Ambassador His Excellency Emmanuel Lenain, and now comes the message from the German Ambassador to India, His Excellency Walter J. Lindner.
Good afternoon, dear friends, dear colleagues, the CEOs of the two chambers, bilateral chambers, my colleagues and friends from the French embassy, the consulates, German embassy, of course, and dear Emmanuel. It's an important day today, and I think it's a very good idea to organize an event on the auspicious day of the German-French Friendship Day, or French-German Friendship Day, as you wish. I think it's a very important day. It's not an anniversary of the usual sort where you obligatory have to remember things. No, it is not. It comes from the heart, and I tell you why. A few generations ago, maybe only 2-3 generations ago, our people in France and in Germany, they were made believe that there is an inheritary enmity between the two countries, handed down, so to say, by the generations. They fought 3 massive wars against each other within 100 years, with a lot of victims on both sides. So you can imagine what kind of courage it needed to have for the two leaders after the Second World War, Charles de Gaulle and Konrad Adenauer on our side, to move forward and to say, let's turn this enmity, this cruelty of the wars from Verdun to many other places, into a friendship, into an everlasting, very deep friendship between countries, governments, parliaments, and people to people. It's very important. Now, my whole life, this friendship with our French neighbors was politically, professionally, and personally very important. When I was foreign secretary, before I came to India, we had constant exchange with my colleagues, either in Brussels or in Berlin or in Paris or in New York when we were the Security Council member. And also as an ambassador or as a diplomat coming to a country, my first stop is always going to my French colleague to see what's his take in the country and then move on to other colleagues. So I did the same in India. When I came here, of course, I met Emmanuel's predecessor the first day when I was in the country, and so did Emmanuel when he arrived in the country. I think it's very important that we are in sync. If the two are in sync, then things move bilaterally, then things move in the European Union and beyond that. So during all the time in India now, we had a very close relationship with Emmanuel and the French colleagues in the embassy, in the consulates, and in the cultural institutes and in the chambers of commerce, be it in the evacuation, be it in the fight against COVID, but also exchanging our takes on the political situation, on the economic situation, cultural situation in the country, be it through emails, through phone calls, or through digital means. I think that's a very important thing, and very happy we could do that. The topics were just endless, from, as I mentioned, economic issues to political issues, but also to issues of the global challenges like green future, environment, Paris Treaty. All these topics are very important. And of course, in the economic side, as Emmanuel has mentioned, also the Airbus and these things. Well, on such a day, it just leaves me to congratulate once again the organizers of this seminar, and I want to wish every participant success, and I want to especially address to my French colleagues, thank you for this friendship, and vive la amitié allemand-française.
That was a great message from Ambassador Walter J. Lindner. That brings us to the next address from the two presidents. Over to Mr. K.C. Hillu, President of the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce and also Managing Director, Fuchs Lubricants India, followed by Mr. Sumit Anand, President, Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, IFCCI, and founder, Insight Growth Partners. Over to you, Mr. Hillu.
Thank you, Sonia. A very good afternoon to Your Excellencies and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I welcome all of you on this lively event and on the occasion of a very important day of Franco-German friendship. I think the significance of this event has already been mentioned by speakers before me, so I will not go into that. The coronavirus pandemic has set the world in a crisis of unprecedented magnitude. What is important is that we grab each opportunity to stay united and strengthen our union. If right actions are taken now, this crisis can be an opportunity for us to create conditions for a cleaner, greener, and more digital growth. I think we need to build bridges between the countries and shape a recovery that makes our economies fit for future. And here I don't only mean France and Germany, I mean the whole world. Glad to note that America is coming back as part of the world now. I look forward to the panel discussions we have today on board. Eminent speakers to share their thoughts, knowledge, opinion with all of us. The panel sessions will offer us a striking opportunity to concretize the Franco-German cooperation and the potential and opportunities for India for a mutually beneficial, sustainable development by reviewing three crucial pillars: international response, responsible trade, sustainability, and investment, and not to mention, and especially focused on the aerospace sector, which is an important sector for India and the world. So I wish you all a very fruitful discussion, and I would like to conclude with the new catchphrase, stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hillu. Over to you, Sumit.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Kirsi. That was an excellent address, and I'm so glad that we're doing this event together. It's a very special event on Franco-German Day. Europe-India relations are key in this new world. And as we all know, Europe has been built on the Franco-German partnership, which has become even more clearer since Brexit. And it's great that we are collaborating in India together. In India, historically, at least on the chamber levels, the two chambers have largely operated in silos. Obviously, Germany's always had deeper economic relations with India. With France, it was perhaps to start with more socio-cultural, and then it moved towards a comprehensive strategic partnership. But economic relations have grown rapidly between France in the last five to 10 years. And as India engages more with Europe, and soon let's hope for an EU free trade agreement, this Franco-German partnership is key. The Indo-German Chamber has obviously played a key role in building a very large chamber. I'd like to congratulate Kirsty and Stefan and Sonia for your success. The Indo-French Chamber, of which I'm the president, has been super dynamic these last 10 years, clearly punching above its weight. And congratulations to Payal and her team for that. It's a special occasion today, Franco-German Day, as the two chambers come together and bring our top business leaders to talk about two key areas where Europe has a big role to play in India. One obviously being sustainability, and Europe has always shown the lead in the world. Germany historically, and now France, especially with its huge green transition plan. And our companies are clearly focused on bringing the best practices to India in these areas. And the second, obviously, in the area of civil aviation. For a large country like India, it's a key sector for the development of the country. And both France and Germany have already contributed a lot in the development of the sector. So it'll be great to hear from the companies who are members of GFAS and BDLI. Before I end, I'd also like to share why personally this is an important moment for me. I started my European journey back in 1991 in my student days, actually in a foreign traineeship to Germany. And I remember visiting IGCC back then in Bombay. I took my German classes in Max Müller Bhavan, and I went off to Germany. And then from Germany, I moved on to France, and where I studied and worked. And today I have the privilege of being the president of the chamber. So it's a very special day for me personally that we are today coming together as two chambers to celebrate the Franco-German Day and to support our member companies in their mission and their goals in India. So with that, let's kick off the event and hand it back to the team.
Thank you, Sumit, and thank you, Mr. Hello, for your remarks. Now we move to the two important sessions of the day. The first one being sustainability in business. So whatever is good for planet is good for business. Today, sustainability is equal to survival, or survival is equal to sustainability. So we have a very important and interesting session today, which is moderated by Ms. Francisca de Coper, Head of Territory India, BNP Paribas. And our very eminent panelists today are Mr. Alain Spohr, Managing Director, Alstom India, Ms. Lakshmi Chatterjee, Head of Strategy and Sustainability, Siemens Limited, Ms. Snehal Chitnani, Director, Communications, Sustainability and Public Affairs, L'Oreal India, Ms. Alka Bhagat, Head Country Development, BASF India, moderated by Ms. Francisca de Coper. So over to you, Francisca, and I request the other panelists to also kindly switch on your cameras. So looking forward to this very interesting session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you. So good afternoon and welcome to this virtual panel on encouraging international responsible business or sustainability in business. So I feel very good in this company coming from a small European country in between France and Germany and living in India. This is for me just the perfect setting. So before I shortly introduce the panelists, I would like to share with you very briefly some of my views on sustainability, as well as on BNP Paribas on the road for sustainability. So at one point in time, there was a general belief that nature's resources were unlimited. However, we see now how wrong this belief is. The tension between human and nature, between human greed and the limited resources, is today a constant source of tension. So business as usual cannot continue. The climate emergency, the social inequality, the mass extinction of animals, the disruption of entire ecosystems, they are all real and they are ready threats to our existence. Today, many companies are actively integrating sustainability principles in their businesses, and they are doing so by pursuing goals that go far beyond the initial concerns of managing their reputation. I think today more and more leaders have begun to think sustainably, and they are deeply changing their business models and their strategic choices for the future, but also for the ecosystems that surround them. So in fact, traditional accounting framework should include, according to me, two additional other performance areas. the social and the environmental impacts of the company. So these three bottom lines, they are often referred to as the three Ps: people, planet, and profit is what we should manage. Changing the way we do business is essential to addressing the challenges of environmental degradation and cutting the emissions. As the market is the most powerful institution on earth, and as businesses are its most powerful entities within it, we think that businesses have an important role to play here, as they are responsible for producing the buildings we live and we work in, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the automobiles we drive, the energy that propels them, the next form of mobility that will replace them. It does not only mean that business is the only one that can generate solutions, but with its unmatched power of ideation, of production and distribution, business is best positioned to bring the change we need at scale today, from climate and biodiversity to plastics and to circular economy. In the meantime, you wonder probably how a bank contributes to a more sustainable future. At BNP Paribas, our own journey from the past 15 years in this area has been full of challenges, but a lot of optimism too. The initial steps were more inward-looking, assuming the role and our convictions of walking this path. But now we envision and charter more the external world. And today we pride ourselves in being the reference bank for sustainability, with adequate sustainability solutions, CSR policies, and risk frameworks in place, and especially commitments of the whole organization and from the top to drive sustainability as a very important part of our corporate purpose. We have been carbon neutral since 2017, and we have been working on many employee-related topics. But the essential role of the banking sector in this matter is really on the way it finances the economy and the way it helps financing the transformation of its clients' businesses for new and more sustainable models. And today I can state that we have a complete financial toolbox to accompany our clients on their path to net zero and to answer client sustainability financing and investment needs. We have been recognized as Asia's Sustainability Finance House of the Year for 2020 and for Euromoney as the world's best bank for financial inclusion in 2020. And while of course being proud of the achievements, we are absolutely well aware that there is still a very long road in front of all of us. We see many challenges for banks and for banks including BNP Paribas. For example, incorporating ESG non-financial criteria in all our risk credit decisions, or playing also more a role as a catalyst and a multi-stakeholder platform builder to bring all parties together, because what has to be financed is huge, that it has to be a multi-party, hybrid, blended financing model solutions. But now I would like to open the panel, and the four esteemed panelists were already introduced, but let me shortly do that again. So we have Alain Spohr from Alstom India, and he is a seasoned professional and veteran in the transportation sector, 4 decades of experience, and he has been at the helm of some of the most significant infrastructure projects. So he's managing director today of Alstom India and South Asia, and I'm sure he will contribute a lot in sharing his experience in sustainability. We have also Lakshmi Chatterjee from Siemens. She is the head of strategy and sustainability. She has done many key important projects in the areas of business strategy development, strategic review alignments, financial management of international turnkey energy distribution projects, business process re-engineering, and so on. So very welcome also to you, Lakshmi. Then we have Snehal Chitneni, and I hope I pronounce your name well, Snehal, from L'Oréal India. You were appointed Chief of Communications, Sustainability and Public Affairs of L'Oréal India in 2015, and you are responsible for protecting and promoting L'Oréal's reputation here. And you have also 20 years of very broad experience in driving communication across industries and sectors, and I think that will also be a very valuable viewpoint on the topic we share in the panel this afternoon. And then we have Alka Bhagat from BASF, Head of Country Development for India and South Asia. You joined BASF 2 years ago. You manage regional and country strategic projects. You lead the India Sustainability Roadmap, and you support the country top leadership with the execution of that program. And you have also a very extensive experience across sectors that will be very interesting to have your view this afternoon. We should not lose any further time and come to the point and give the floor to you, dear members of this panel. So I would like to have a first generic question for you, which is that each of your companies are on this strategic, long-term, very transformational journey to become a sustainable business. And I wanted to hear from you and to share with the audience what's for your company, for your group, the purpose of that journey and how you see the destination. And meanwhile, if you could also share with us how you're progressing on the journey, I think that would be interesting. So if you could do that in 4 minutes each, then we will have time to go to some other topics. And I would propose that Alain starts sharing the topic with us.
Thank you, Francisca, and good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Our way on sustainability and our objectives. Alstom is a global player in the world of rail transport and mobility. Per definition, our activity is directly interconnected and raising issues about sustainability. First, because of the direct impact of our activity, but also because of the way and the solutions which we can provide in order to limit this direct impact. Today, I would say we are working significantly in order to enhance, in order to develop the sustainability policies and implement them for all our products. And we work along 3 main directions. The first one, and the most obvious one, is to reduce, to limit the power consumption of our products and to limit the emissions generated by our products. And we have clear plans in actions and developments going on in order to reduce by 25% the energy consumptions of our products up to in 2025, and to make 100% of our new developments in 2025 qualified as eco-friendly. I think that's the most obvious and most direct part of sustainability in transport. Another part, another field of activity of sustainability in transport is sparing and reducing the consumption of natural resources and raw materials. And today already 28% of our new products are based on recycled materials, be it plastics, be it metals, be it any type of equipment. It's a heavy contributions of recycled materials in the design and the manufacturing of our components. And also our equipment are designed in a way to be easily recyclable. And 95% today of our products can be recycled in the eco-friendly way. This is the second way, the second field in which we are working for sustainability. And the third field, which is extremely important in our company also, is the development and the education and the training of our people and our experts and our workforce and our employees to have the mindset towards sustainability, to implement sustainable solutions, to implement resource saving solutions, to implement power saving solutions, and to have this mindset, to have this attitude in every way, in every aspect of their daily activity and their daily contributions to our business. These are the main areas on which we are working today, and we believe that we push this with a very, very big energy because we believe we have a very, very strong responsibility in this field towards the society, towards our customers, towards the people who are using our products, and it has really become one of the major drivers of many decisions which are made in our company. Sustainability is at the center of many, many important things happening in Alstom today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alain. And it's very clear that it is a very strategic and transformational and broad program that you're managing there. Nihal, can I ask you for L'Oréal, what is your destination? What is the purpose? Why is L'Oréal on this journey?
Sure, happy to share more, Francesca. The way we look at it over the past 2 decades, the role of companies has changed dramatically. The expectations from our stakeholders, coupled with the acceleration of environmental and social challenges, have led, many of us to engage in very robust sustainable development policies, to better take into account the environmental and social impact on our own activities. At L'Oréal itself, way back in 2005, we led a major transformation to reduce the environmental impact of our own industrial activities. And in 2013, we launched our first ambitious sustainable development program called Sharing Beauty with All, which sort of set very ambitious targets for us to achieve by the year 2020. And they addressed our entire value chain, right from product innovation to distribution to manufacturing, to the way we even went out and reached out to consumers. Now today, as social and economic environmental concerns increase, we want to commit ourselves to an even more radical transformation, and which is why towards July of last year, we decided to take our commitment even further through a program called L'Oréal for the Future. With Sharing Beauty with All, it was about us doing less harm and reducing our own environmental impact, within our own ecosystem. But with L'Oréal for the Future, what we're doing really is to go beyond our own direct environmental impact, by helping consumers making more consumable, sustainable choices, by generating positive and social environmental contribution, and really going, reaching out to our entire business ecosystem, our external ecosystem of business partners, suppliers, retailers, etc. And how are we doing that? Firstly, we aim to transform ourselves and respect planetary boundaries. Planetary boundaries are, of course, limits which, if crossed, compromise the Earth's capacity to function as a safe habitat for human development. So therefore, respecting a safe operating space for humanity has to be a priority for all of us for decades to come. And which is why L'Oréal aims to transform, to transition to a way of operating its entire business within the limits of the planet. Secondly, like I said, we're empowering our entire business ecosystem of clients, suppliers, consumers, etc., and helping them transition to a more sustainable world. And finally, beyond a mere transformation of our own business model, we've decided to contribute to environmental and social challenges that the world is facing. And we've sort of allocated a 150 million euro fund to address urgent social and environmental issues. And if we were to sort of look at key aspects of L'Oréal for the Future in a nutshell, what we've essentially committed to is that by 2030, L'Oréal will reduce by 50% per finished product, its entire greenhouse gas emissions. By 2025, all of L'Oréal's sites would have achieved carbon neutrality, and by using, by improving energy efficiency and by using 100% renewable energy. In India, I'm very proud to say we would have achieved that, by the end of 2021 itself. We're also saying by 2030, 100% of the plastics we use in our packaging, in our product packaging, will be either from recycled or bio-based resources. So this, of course, is in a broad nutshell what we would be, what's the ambition for the next decade for L'Oréal.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Snehal. Can I go now to Lakshmi and ask you what it means for Siemens, why you are on this journey, what your ambitions are, what is in front of you, and how is it going? We cannot hear you, Lakshmi. We cannot hear you for the moment. Maybe I propose that I go first then to Alka, and that Alka can explain what it means for BASF.
Sure. Good afternoon. Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Francisca, and good afternoon, everyone. I think, thank you, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to actually share my perspective on sustainability on behalf of BASF. I guess BASF doesn't require any introduction in this platform, but what's important, if people have even noticed it, our corporate purpose or the tagline which BASF says, that we create chemistry for the sustainable future. This is not something which is out of fluke, but I think a few years back, roughly 7 to 8 years back, our purpose or even the tagline used to say the chemical company. And we made that conscious choice. We reinvented ourselves, looked into our business processes, portfolio, and even our innovation strategy also to make sure that we actually have sustainability as one of the core pillar of our strategy. And that's what we have been continuing. We actually have a 150-year-old history. And if we want to stay in the market for another 100 years, I think then sustainability is not a choice. It's something that all of us and we need to adapt. If I have to summarize our journey on sustainability, I think if we go back only 25 years, since those 25 years, early 90s, we have grew significantly. But while doing that, we actually reduced our absolute carbon emissions by 50%. So it's effectively that going sustainably. And we have done that by improving our own internal processes. We actually steered our portfolio towards a extremely sustainable way. And of course, worked with our own suppliers and even our customers to develop that. And we continuously, we are on that journey, and we are going to continue on that path as well. If you remember, there was a very recent announcement by our chairman, global chairman, towards the end of 2018, saying that we are going to grow significantly over the next 10 years. But while doing that, we are not going to increase our carbon emissions. So we actually set up 2018 as a benchmark line for us, and we said that on that we will grow significantly. And I'll tell you, it's a difficult task, because whatever those low-hanging fruits we have already reaped those over the last 20 years. For us now, it's important to look into how we can make that step change, or how we can bring those drastic measures which can help us in bringing those efficiencies. To name a few, I think if you would have heard, chem cycling is one of those topics which we globally talk about. We have been investing on those new technologies to bring those efficiencies. We actually have our portfolio categorized in further categories. The top category products are called accelerator, which are superbly sustainable. And that's what our focus is. We want to increase the sales of our accelerator products globally to a higher level and hence contribute to the growth of our customers also. So that's all I would say, that sustainability is not a choice for us. It's embedded in our business models and how we operate on day-to-day basis. So thank you.
Thank you. Very, very clear, Alka. Thank you. Lakshmi, we would love to hear more about the journey of Siemens also. I hope we can hear you now. Can you? Yes, that's great.
Oh, that's
yes,
great. That's wonderful. So first of all, let me start by saying a very good afternoon to you, Francisca, to my the esteemed panelists, my fellow panelists, and to the audience. When we were talking about this, and you talked about the long and transformational journey, that got me thinking, so where as Siemens did we start? You know, it started with our founder, Werner von Siemens. The one quote that we like to use very often, the thing that he kind of put together as a vision for our company: I will not sell the future for instant profits. And keeping in that tradition, the way we work today in Siemens is very well put together by our outgoing CEO, Joe Kaeser. What we really try to do, and this is true for everything we do, so whatever we do, it must add lasting value and deliver benefits for shareholders, employees, for customers, for our partners, and for society as a large. So how do we do that, and what do we want to do? How do we implement what we just talked about? Really going by the pillars that you talked about: the planet, people, and profit, and having our influence in all of those. And I'm not going to go through the details of each one of those, but we have a structured framework that we use, which is a business to society model. And if I were to try and sum it up as to what that is supposed to mean, is that our contribution is through building impactful products and solutions, that our expertise and thought leadership can influence industry, that we take responsibility for clean business operations throughout our value chain, and our citizenship activities and community engagement is focused on giving back to society. So what we try to really do is address the sustainable development goals using this framework of business to society. Of course, some of them with a very high impact, and some of them, of course, where we are more of an influencer. However, our achievement has been is we are number 2 on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, and we're in the top 10% across the world. Our environmental portfolio, the products and solutions that lead to higher energy efficiency, and Ala talked about the trains, and that's also one of the things where our products go into, lead to higher energy efficiencies, and are a key component in generation of renewable energy, and are classified under a lot of energy efficient portfolio. And we have a portfolio that focuses on really delivering to higher efficiency and a lower footprint on the planet. In addition, what we also do is we have clearly diversity, not only of the the breadth of Siemens in 190 countries around the world, but also we advocate very strongly equal opportunity for people, and of all kinds, of all colors, of all walks of life, and gender, of course, to strike the right kind of balance in the workplace. And we try to make sure that we take our supply chain along with us. So on the whole, we are, as a company, looking to minimize our environmental impact and to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030.
Thank you, Lakshmi. And I think with saying business to society, you say how broad this program is and that it is not only focused on your own bottom line, but that it takes into account the whole environment. So now that we have a broad idea, and of course the time is so short for such an important subject, but we have an idea of what each of your companies is aiming at. I would like now to go a little bit deeper into the fact that this is a program or a strategic option that is chosen by your companies that cannot be done only internally. It involves so many different stakeholders. It is also a transformation as well in mindset, as is in business models, in processes, so many things that come on the agenda of this transformation. So you need to have the active participation of many stakeholders, be it convincing your shareholders, but your employees, your clients, even external parties with who maybe you did not have to work before. So I would like to know from some of you what have been in the onboarding of those different stakeholders be the most challenging thing. What can you share that will be valuable for the people in the audience? So Alain, can I go back to you to share what you have on this aspect to share as important challenges on stakeholders?
Of course, and thank you. I think I will talk of four aspects, four types of challenges which we are facing, which are part of what we address daily. Being in the transport activity, one of the challenges is to motivate the end users, which are the passengers, to shift from the individual transport of their cars, their bikes, their individual systems, to the public transport. And obviously in today's COVID situation, that's even more challenging because obviously people prefer to be safe in their cars than to be in a crowded metro. But this point by side, I think this, to create this motivation, you need to make very big efforts in terms of offering cost-efficient solutions to make it accessible to people. And you need to work very heavily on the passenger experience, that the people feel comfortable, feel safe, feel secure, that the people feel motivated to join your trains, to join your metros. And it means also that your systems have to be inclusive, that you give access to your systems to differently able people, to people with different mindset, different habits, different ways of looking. And clearly that's one of the challenges, to motivate your end customer to happily use the solutions which you offer. Another challenge is that related more to the financial institution and to the governments, is to make people accept that creativity, innovation is at a cost. And sometimes a sustainable solution may look prima facie costly, particularly in terms of financial investment. And people need to look at it under the long term to see what would be the cost benefit of a sustainable solution over a long period of time. And this is really a challenge, and I would say particularly in our country, in India, it's really extremely challenging to make people accept that buying cheap is costly in the long run, and buying costly can be cheap in the long run. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, the second challenge which we are facing regularly with our solutions. The third one is to bring our vendors and our contractors on board, because obviously to build our equipment and manufacture our equipment, we need the support of a wide panel of partners who supply raw materials, finished products, semi-finished products. And it's a continuous work, continuous effort to educate your vendors and your partners that they buy and adhere to your principles, to your ethical approach, to your compliant approach, in order to support your final global aim. It doesn't make sense to say that you include in your train a recycled component if this component is manufactured by people who don't adhere with the basics of ethical behavior, who employ child labor or things like this. So you need to ensure that the full value chain is under control and supporting your values. And I think the fourth element, you need also to work against the resistance of people, and particularly customers, who may not be spontaneously accepting innovative or new solutions. And here, typically, we have an example, which is a hydrogen train, on which Alstom has been a leader and probably the first company who put a hydrogen train on the market. But this train, which was designed and engineered and manufactured in France, has been put on the market, and it's a good auspicious day today. It has been put on the market in Germany because these were the customers which were open-minded enough to accept this innovative technology. And following, I would say, the successful combination between French manufacturing and design and German possibility of German way to market, today this hydrogen train has become a reference which is more and more used all across Europe and soon worldwide. So these are some and four of the biggest challenges against which we have to act, I would say, daily in our way forward to sustainability. Thank you.
Can I ask the same question to you, Alka, on what are your most important stakeholders and what are particularly the challenges to onboard them and to have them actively participating in this transformation?
Sure, definitely. Overall, I would say that my thoughts are pretty similar to what you just have mentioned. I think business success tomorrow means creating value for environment, society, and business. And to do that, I think we have to cover the whole all parts of our value chain, whether it's suppliers. When we work with our suppliers, of course, we look at TFS, which is Together for Sustainability, Responsible Care. When we look at our own operations, we actually continuously look for energy, better processes to bring those efficiencies. When we go to the market with our own peers, other industry forums, we actually have taken up a leadership role, co-founder role in many of those associations like Alliance to End Plastic Waste, responsible sourcing of palm oil, and many other activities. And when we actually take that to our customer, which is the last leg of this whole value chain, we actually bring the products which are much more sustainable and have low carbon footprint. I think the biggest challenge what we have faced taking all these stakeholders along is specifically in not so developed market and with the smaller and medium enterprises, the mindset is still that sustainability is a cost. It is still a choice for them. I think the overall holistic picture, which needs to bring sustainability along with their own business operations and then look at their ROI when they are actually making any capex or new investments, that is still missing. And that kind of restricts us in bringing much advanced sustainable products as well as solutions and processes to the country, because if there is no value for that, it's difficult for us to make those sustainable and sell. And I think if we actually could work around that and make sure that there is a support which is required from the government and regulatory authorities to make those standards everybody needs to actually understand those standards and follow those standards. And hence, I think we can take along and move on that sustainability journey. I think the one last comment which I have on this one is from our side, what we are trying to do is we have actually calculated the carbon footprint of each of our products. There are close to 50,000 products which we have in our portfolio globally. We have done that, and that information will be shared with our customers in 2021 so that they can also make an informed choice that what product is actually more sustainable and works better for the environment, society, and community. So thank you.
Thank you, Alka. Another question I had, as you are all four of you working in the Indian operations of large international groups with origins either in France or in Germany. I was wondering, in this group transformation, what the role is of India and the Indian operations. How can they contribute to that group goal? Is there something specific, because India is an emerging country full of potential with its specific value that it can add? How do you play that out in the group? Or what is particularly difficult of fitting in the India transformation towards more sustainability in a group strategy? Maybe Lakshmi, can you kick off on this question?
Sure. As you can see, the way we are structured in Siemens, strategy and sustainability sit together. So as I head the business strategy for Siemens and as well as the sustainability, so that, you know, we are looking at it holistically. You're exactly right. I mean, we cannot, of course, you know, take those practices that we have in Europe or in the United States or anywhere else and kind of apply them to India. That does not work. Our approach, however, has been to adapt to the strategies and the initiatives in a way such that it suits our local requirements and addresses the challenges in India. India offers a huge platform to build on and execute sustainable business models, which can be replicated also in similar economies around the world, which are at the same stage as India. So to just talk about a couple of things, the one area that I would like to focus on, if I'm talking about externally, and I did mention our products and solutions, and it's also in the way our factories operate in India and in the way we introduce processes, and to the extent that is possible and that is adaptable, we do take things over. But one big advantage is the Industry 4.0. which is the digitalization portfolio that Siemens brings. It really helps us optimize manufacturing of a product or a solution. And what it really does is helps us produce using less resources, less power, less efforts, and hence less emissions and less of environmental impact. So this, for example, is something where we see India, especially in India, our customers, our small and medium-sized enterprises, the industry, can leapfrog, although having a low level of automation, in leveraging digitalization that will help them automatically design their processes to be more kind to the environment. And that is something that Siemens has a very strong portfolio suite in. What we, however, also do is we have a focus on society, and we have a very comprehensive corporate social responsibility program that with a few flagship projects, of which two I want to mention. One focuses primarily on improving living conditions, and we work with villages and really select regions that have very low human development index. And we use our core competencies, our technology, you know, our know-how to improve living conditions. The second one that we are working on in a very strong way, starting from schools, going up to university and research institute, is the entire topic of skilling. And what we do here is bring the German dual vocational education training to our ITIs. We strengthen the government ITIs and thereby support the skilling of the nation. So these are our multi-pronged approaches that will help us in India also as well to achieve our net zero, our carbon neutrality target that we want to achieve by 2030. I hope I've the question.
And you, Snehal, did you have to adapt locally the group strategy of L'Oréal to what you wanted to roll out in India, or were you able to eventually contribute specifically to the group from India? Can you say something more about this?
Sure, for sure. For one, of course, India is a big country with a very big ambition for growth across all our industries and sectors, but it's also a country with big issues. So I think anything that we do in India from a sustainability perspective has a very strong potential, for multinational organizations to have a really strong roadmap of progress. And there's so much to learn at both ends. On the one hand, where really, the world can learn from India and the work that we do in our countries. Lakshmi mentioned training and skill building. There's so much that we do when it comes to inclusive growth. That our counterparts in other countries can learn from. In India, L'Oréal, we're very, grateful that we have the entire L'Oréal ecosystem in India in this form of factories. We have 2 factories in India. We have 2 research and innovation centers in India. So we have a real impact in the way we develop our products, in the way we go to consumers, and can really make a very, very strong mark on the sustainability roadmap for the L'Oréal group. On the other hand, chambers such as yours have such an important role to play in helping the government shape policies, really drawing on the experience that European countries and companies have in some areas, especially like natural resource utilization policies, which already exist in a very strong way in Europe. And if and we can really help the Indian government leapfrog and, avoid the whole test and learn phase. Because Europe has already done it, and there's so much that we can really add and contribute when it comes to shaping policy and helping and working alongside the government. On the other hand, I think our headquarters, etc., have so much to learn from India when it comes to inclusive growth for all, skill building. In India alone, we train almost 300,000 people every year, be it in hairdressing or beauty. Some of it on our own, some of it in collaboration and partnerships with the government. So I really think it's a two-way street, and there's a lot to learn at both ends.
Oh, thank you so much. I think there was a message there also for the chambers and maybe even for the ambassadors on how they could help us make progress. Time is going so fast, so I would love to have a lot of other questions, but I think we're already at the last round. So I have a last question for each of you. It's a kind of a gift to the audience, and I was thinking about the fact that we learn normally most from our failures, not from what works, but from what works less. And I was also thinking about that nice sentence from Churchill, who says that, or who said that success is walking from failure to failure, but with no loss of enthusiasm. And I think this is a sentence that we can use in this journey to a more sustainable business. So are you ready to share your biggest failure or your biggest difficulty until now, so that the audience can learn from it? I don't know who wants to go first on this one.
I can try. Not talking about just failure, but I'm going to sort of say what has been our learning on this journey, which is, are we ready to change as a business? The way we are doing business. A clear shift from sustainability. It's an option. from sustainability, is it an option for us or is it a core business? Is it something that is required to address issues and challenges that we talked about? Are we ready to shift from a linear to a circular economy, which means that are we looking at not only just managing the sales, the entire life cycle? Are we willing to take our, are we building the ecosystem? Are we willing to take our customers, suppliers, users, and partners along? And in this journey is where we believe that we have to create the long-term value for all our stakeholders and improve the way we do business. So that's really been our learning, and I tried to summarize that by not possibly giving a specific example, but to try and say these are the questions we have answered and gone along and are still answering to try and transform ourselves from where we were as a company to us as an ecosystem.
Snehal from
Yep, I second what Lakshmi says. I think it's important when it comes to any kind of sustainability transformation. It's important that we stop acting like typical corporates and instead focus on the logic of cooperation, because the fight against climate change requires mobilizations, not just companies, but individuals, governments, businesses, organizations sort of all coming together and working together for a better climate and future. And one more aspect, for a consumer goods company like ours, no change is possible unless we involve consumers, and we know how difficult it is to change consumer behavior. So I think that's been another realization and learning, that we need to focus more on that aspect, because a large part of the environmental impact also comes from the end use phase. How does a consumer use a shampoo at home? How much water do they use to rinse off their products? And therefore, how can we help consumers make more sustainable choices? And towards the end of this year, we're going to roll out something called a product impact labeling tool. It's essentially an app that helps consumers gauge the environmental and social impact of a product. So we're going to start with our brand Garnier and rinse off products. You go into any supermarket, scan the product, and in a very transparent manner, you will know the social and economic or environmental footprint of the product. So we're really putting the power in the hands of the consumer and helping them decide for themselves if they want to buy the product or not. So I think that's really a huge step in, we're really going out there on a limb. But I think, measures like that are really important if we want to move the needle on sustainability. And I think that'll also help us gain consumer trust, not just consumer trust, but also the trust of our suppliers and our business partners. So yeah, that's the other thing that I wanted to mention.
And Alka, for BASF, a particular difficulty or a failure that you want to share with the audience?
No, I think instead of failure, what I just want to summarize what I have done overall so far. We talked about in a couple of lines. I think it's very important for us to take bold steps. We cannot wait anymore. Making responsible choices should be part of our everyday decision making. And keeping sustainability as an important pillar since inception would help us in longer term. It should not come as an afterthought. Okay, I should have done that, or it should not be driven through the government or regulation. It should be part of your day-to-day decision making as you think about any new investment, capex. You look at people, you look at cost, you look at infrastructure, you look at location. You need to look at how sustainable this investment is, how you are going to make a contribution back to the community and to the society. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alain, as the man in this diverse panel, and diversity is also part of a more sustainable environment and company, I want to give you the last word to reply on this question.
Yes, I would like to comment that in my professional life, I made many mistakes and I missed many opportunities. when I took decisions on short-term benefits and results. And I think in whatever we do, we should always think in the long-term consequences of what we are doing and deciding. And particularly when you talk of sustainability, for me, sustainability is not a trend, it's not a gadget, it's not good to have. As highlighted by my colleague panelists, all of you, you said it, sustainable is something which is non-negotiable, it's not a choice, and it will be in the long run more and more important in all of our activities, in all our field of activities. That is why we have decided in our company to make responsible behavior one of the key pillars of our company culture. And I think it's good to promote this and to put this in the mind of everybody, not only in our professional life, but also in our personal lives. And this would be my last word to all of you. And I thank you, Francesca, I thank you all for these important and interesting discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you also much, panelists. And I think with the words that you just used, Alain, where you clearly illustrated that it's not only about products or processes, but more important and more difficult is that attitude, that mindset that is also needed. I think these are really the words with which we can end this panel. And I thank you also very much, and I hope it was interesting for the audience. So I would like to give the floor back to Sonia now. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a wonderful session with great insights. Thank you to all the panelists. We now move to our second panel discussion, cooperation in the aerospace sector with the French Aerospace Industries Association, GIFAS, and German Aerospace Industries Association, BDLI. The speakers at this session are Mr. Vincent Gori, Senior Vice President of International and European Affairs, GIFAS, Dr. Burkhard Müller, member of BDLI board and owner and managing director of EIS Electronics GmbH, Mr. Laurie Alder, head of customer service and training, South Asia, Airbus. The session will be moderated by Mr. Stefan Halusa, Director General, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. Over to you, Mr. Halusa.
Thank you very much for handing over. And I have to say I was very impressed about the previous panel. That will be difficult, but I hope that we can keep up that level of a discussion. Really very good on this important topic of sustainability along the whole supply chain to the end consumers. Again, very interesting. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing to you the topic of the second panel discussion this afternoon, and maybe a little bit more about the all-male lineup of panelists that we have for this second panel. The title of this panel is Cooperation in the Civil Aviation Sector, and we are glad to have with us representative of the French Aerospace and Industries Association, GIFAS, which stands for Groupement des Industries Françaises Aéronautique et Spatiale. And I hope it was at least close to understandable what I just tried to say in French. A representative of the German, representative of the German Aerospace Industries Association, BDLI, which stands for the Bundesverband der deutschen Luft- und Raumfahrtindustrie, as well as a representative of Airbus, a company which stands like almost no other for French, German, and for that matter also European industry cooperation. I guess the same applies for the two associations which represent two of the leading aerospace industries, not only in Europe but also in the whole world. They have been cooperating for the past 60 years, and as Sumit has already stated and said at the beginning, French and German companies have made significant contribution to the development of the aviation industry in India. I would like to still introduce the panelists, starting with Laurie Alder. He's the Vice President, Customer Services, South Asia at Airbus. He joined Airbus in 1992 after almost 10 years with BAE Systems. He has a truly global experience with management of customer support divisions for Western Europe, Asia Pacific, Africa, Middle East, and South Asia. He arrived in India in 2018 to lead a team dedicated to secure the full satisfaction of Airbus customers and to drive services and business development in South Asia. He will be followed by Vincent Goury. He's the Senior Vice President of International and European Affairs at GIFAS, and I will not torture you one more time with my French. The Aerospace Industry Association of France. He's been working with GIFAS for almost 14 years now. And finally, then we will hear from Dr. Burkhard Müller, who is a member of the Executive Committee of BDLI, the German Industry Association, which is the voice of the German aerospace industry. At the same time, he's the owner and the managing director of EAI's Electronics GmbH in Bremerhaven, in Germany, and also a member of EAI's Electronics India Private Limited, a joint venture founded with MKU Limited. His previous positions include being managing director of Avia Partners GmbH, IVG Services GmbH, and managing positions at Karstadt and at Lufthansa. So with that having been said, I would like to start with Laurie. Could you please share with us the setup of Airbus in India and which roles cooperation play in this setup, and also to a little bit about the role of India in Airbus's global setup?
Yeah, sure, Stefan. Thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon to everybody in India. Good morning, I believe still, to those in Europe, and Mahlzeit to those in Germany. You know, Airbus has had a very special relationship with India, which is long, around 5 decades, which is deep, which I shall talk a little bit more about, and which is extremely broad. It's not just civil aviation, it's also space and defense and military and helicopters and business and engineering. We've set up design, engineering and research facilities in India. This is leveraging the highly gifted engineering and IM talent pool that's existing, particularly in the south of the country. Did you know that every single commercial aircraft delivered by Airbus has got parts or technology developed in India? Every single one. And in 2019, we were delivering 800 aircraft. Last year was slightly less for obvious reasons. Every one contains an Indian content. We're procuring $650 million of equipment from 45 plus suppliers within India every single year. Whilst, you know, the focus of this particular panel is on civil aviation, I do want to just mention also that we're involved in multiple projects also for developing the ecosystem in India for military. We will be proposing the C295 aircraft, military transport aircraft, with production by Tata in India. Helicopters with Mahindra Aerospace, which is all going to create thousands of new jobs and new capabilities for the indigenous development of the military setup in India. In addition, there are satellites. We've worked very closely with ISRO for design and production of communication satellites, but also for launch of Earth observation satellites. But coming back a little bit more to the commercial aviation side, first of all, Airbus is very, very predominant with Indian airlines, all Indian airlines. The A320 is the airliner of choice within the country. 80% of the in-service fleet of all aircraft in India for the domestic market are all Airbuses. That's a very, very high market share for the A320. And we still have another 700 aircraft to deliver. I've mentioned the sourcing. I've mentioned the 650 million, the 45 suppliers, that every aircraft having a part manufactured or designed or developed in India. which brings me on to the engineering center in Bangalore. You know, it's we have engineering centers in other countries in the world, but the one in Bangalore is unique because it's core engineering. It's not just work packages, it's pure core engineering. This is providing 500 jobs in Bangalore. And the skill set, we set it up in 2007, and the skill set that is provided in this center is just fantastic. It's matured the capabilities in avionics software, design and testing, system design, simulation, digital mock-up, aerodynamics, aerophysics. It's fantastic. And this is working extremely closely with India. On my particular side, on the customer services side, we set up in 2018 a customer support center here in Delhi, where we have 100 people, 95% Indian, which is providing technical support, engineering support, fleet management support, supply chain specialization through our subsidiary of Satair, flight operations support through a subsidiary NavBlue. We have also developed a service which is providing engineering solutions, acting actually as the engineering department of an airline, which just right now is actually expanding to become the worldwide center for this service for all Airbus customers worldwide. And that is a fantastic feather in the cap for our engineering team in Bangalore. We have a training center which we inaugurated in 2019 in Delhi, which has 2 full flight simulators in it, where we're delivering pilot training principally. And this pilot training is, the training is given by Indians to Indians for India. It's a highly indigenous training capacity using the Airbus OEM expertise and simulators and tools and training methods, but delivered locally, very locally. This is in addition to maintenance training centers where we are delivering training to give certification to aircraft maintenance engineers, both in Bangalore and in Delhi. We trained already 6,000 aircraft maintenance engineers through these training centers. What else can I mention? Our IM, information management. We've opened an information management center also in Bangalore. This was inaugurated last year. It's I know the last panel was about sustainability, but I would like to mention that this is designed and built with sustainability in mind. It contains a high amount of green, natural light. It uses all of virtual computing. Nobody has a laptop out of the 500 people in this information management center. And again, this is leveraging the skills and the competences that are existing in the south of the country. This is covering everything digital, from big data analysis to supply chain digitalization, to cybersecurity, to everything in the digital world. Also, we are helping startup companies in India with the Airbus Biz Lab, which is an accelerator for young, small startups. We've had more than 2,000 projects now where Airbus has worked with startup companies to get them going with expertise, with guidance. And we've actually even signed contracts with 11 of these startups ourselves. We tried to help to accelerate them, but ended up having them working in partnership with Airbus. I would like to finish also by just mentioning a little word, as was mentioned in the previous panel, about corporate responsibility. This is an ethical imperative, and Airbus is working very, very closely with the local communities in the field of education and of sanitation. This is an absolute must for working in India. So that is a very brief tour about our partnership with India just in the civil aircraft side. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, Laurie. Very impressive, the tour. I mean, very an impressive list of activities that you're doing here. And I guess it is, in this case, then absolutely fair to say that there would be no Airbus flying or would be able to get into the air without parts from India, without engineering for India, without your Indian operations. Again, very, very interesting.
Correct. This is absolutely true, Stefan.
No, it's, you know, I will keep it in mind next time I enter an Airbus, definitely. We'll look for the contribution of the Indian industry then. Thanks a lot. Vincent, can you please tell us a little bit more about GFAS, about your activities in India, and about the contribution of GFAS and your member companies to the development of the aviation industry here in the country?
Thanks. Good afternoon to all of you. I understand I've shared. Can we project the PowerPoint I've sent early morning today? If can come on the screen. While it's coming, I just okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So first of all, I'm very happy to be with you. I mean, on this event, which is for the first time gathering French, German, and Indian audience. So it's a first, and I think I hope it will continue for many years, and that we have this kind of celebration, this kind of event for the years to come. So about GFAS, first, I will can we show the next slide, please? I will tell you a little bit about ourselves. So we are quite old. We were founded in 1908. We have more than 400 members, big companies, system suppliers, and SMEs. And they cover the full spectrum of skills from design, development, and production of aerospace systems. And of course, the maintenance operation as well. It's a dual industry in the sense that most of our members have both a civil and a defense activity, a commercial and a defense activity. So it's important, and it's nothing specific. It's the same in every country. But so here you have the proportion. I mean, 77% civil and 20% defense. Our revenues in 2018 were 65 billion produced on the French territory, and an order book quite comfortable. And we know all of us know that 2020 is not going to be the same. Okay, unfortunately. Now about our presence in India. Can we show the next one? I mean, French platforms have been used by the trimmed armed forces in India for the last 70 years. The French OEMs have the design, produce, or source from India. I mean, Airbus, Laurie just mentioned what Airbus is doing in India. And the beauty of Europe is that whether we are German, French, or British, we call Airbus our own. So I mean, so all of them have formed a JV with either PSUs and Indian private companies. Myself, I've worked when I was working with Safran. We've established a JV with H.E. Some time ago now, production JV. And there's a growing number of French SMEs which have production facilities in India, and they follow the lead of the large groups. And in order to accelerate this movement, in 2018, April, we brought a very large delegation of mid-cap and SMEs, French companies and SMEs. And we had very fruitful meetings throughout India in different places. We started a relationship with SIDM at that point. SIDM stands for Society of Indian Defense Manufacturers. That was for the defense part. And we have also a relationship with FICI in the civil side. And we had also a pre-existing relationship, which is continued with CIATI and based in Bangalore. And I hereby salute Dr. Neria if there's anyone from CIT listening to this meeting. And we've decided then in December 2018 to have a permanent presence of GFAS in India, and we opened an office in Delhi. Next slide, please. And the first thing we have done is to try to identify all those French companies who were present in India and were willing to develop, so that they exchange together on their they exchange feedbacks on how to proceed. And also, so you see here the presence is mostly in Bangalore, but that's where we have mostly, design and production facilities. Coming up, Hyderabad, and more and more in Hyderabad, of course, also in Mumbai, around the MRO, most of them, and Nagpur for the production facilities. It's around Dassault project of producing the Falcon 2000 here there in Nagpur. Also coming up in Chennai. Okay. Next one. So this slide on the next one gives you an overview of the companies who are present in India. And some of them, what we are looking at also more and more is to have a relationship in the other way, in the sense that Indian companies also acquire French companies. And there's one example like Centum, for example, or Acus. So this is a necessary move. We have to have a balanced relationship between us. And that's along with the French administration, we're trying to see how we can develop that. So the next slide will show you the same thing approximately with the logos of the companies. I will go to the last slide if you don't mind. So our purpose in India is to contribute to the development of the industrial ecosystem in the field of civil aeronautics and aerospace and defense. We think that we try to we try to work more and more with companies who are in the civil aerospace sector, and we hope to achieve a broad network of companies so that then it's easier and easier to add value in the country. We support the commitment also of French OEMs towards the Make in India policy. This is clear. And we tried, as mentioned to you, to link up with the local industry players and local organizations. I've mentioned a few earlier. And what is important to us is to contribute to this emergence of a private industry in the fields of civil, defense, and space. And for us, there's a civil industry and the defense industry go hand in hand. We don't imagine, it's difficult to have very few players in the defense sector. So the civil sector is as important. And so it's a global approach. Okay. And so, just over the last 2 years, more than 15 French aerospace companies have set up a facility in India. So that's a quick introduction on my side. I'll be of course available to elaborate on that and to answer to the questions of the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Very interesting. It really demonstrated and showed how deeply French aerospace companies, your member companies, are embedded in the industry in India already. What I also found very impressive was your incorporation date, 1908, you said. And if I Googled it correctly, that was just 5 years after the Wright brothers made their first flight. So I think there were some very visionary people at that point in time who already understood what that potential, what kind of potential this product would have. Very interesting.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it was difficult for them to create their own association. The Automotive Industry Association was telling them that they had no future outside of the automotive sector.
Well, I guess they were proven wrong. Thank you very much. So that leads us to Burkhard Müller. Burkhard, last but not least, of course, and we are all very and highly interested in hearing about BLDI's activities in India and how BLDI, but of course also your own company, EIS Electronics, support the development of the industry in India. So please, over to you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Well, we are in India. Namaste. Bonjour to the colleagues in France. Good morning in English, and Grüß Gott for the German people that are joining. We are obviously 160 people listening, so this is quite a big audience. I have no vision of them, so I hope it will be interesting. I was happy to learn about the sustainability in the first panel, and I'm really happy to learn that this has already got so much focus. This gives me hope for my kids. As far as BDLI is concerned, please switch on my presentation. There should be a PDF. Yes, thank you. Next page. So BDLI is almost as old as GFAS. It's 100 years old. So I think it established after First World War. It's almost same size. Next page. So I think there is a big series of companies. Next page, please. Here are some key figures. So instead of what was it, 65, we have a 40 billion euro sales represented. We have 110,000 plus employees in Germany. It's a lot of research money that goes into this industry, and it's threefold, almost similar to the GFAS with civil or commercial aviation. We have military aviation, and we also have space, and I'm happy to say that my company is serving all these three markets. Yeah, the BDLI is representing a lot of companies in Germany and had also started business with India. I think the first trip to India was in 2017. But we have a lot of internal meetings in Germany to promote the Indo-German, let me say, engagements as far as export, subcontracting, or even setting up of facilities in India is concerned. If people are interested in getting in touch, please contact the BDLI. It's easy to reach via the BDLI homepage, and Dr. Berndes and myself are happy to answer any questions if people are interested in doing some business with India. So I would rather focus my presentation on experience we have in a joint venture in India instead of promoting the membership of BDLI, what we of course like to do as well. And I don't.
Yeah.
I also would like to mention the friendship that we have BDLI with GFAS, but this story has been told by Vincent already. So delegation groups had been sent or went to Bangalore. I think we were less visible than the French group that came 1 year later, but nevertheless we went to Bangalore and Chennai. And we met with industry representatives. We visited facilities, and I like to also mention that we enjoyed Indian hospitality. I have been traveling to India, I think 25 or even more times, and I feel, well, almost like an Indian. My JV partners always say that I'm I'm part of their family. So at least I dare to say I feel a little bit Indian. Also, I have no Indian blood in myself, but I feel very, very comfortable in India. And this is why I promote this hospitality and presence in India. Due to COVID, the 2020 tour had been postponed. I think early, either end of this year or early next year, there will be a next tour, delegation tour to India. Next slide, please. What I think is more important for me to tell to the audience is our experience that we have made in India. We found a joint venture in 2012 already, so we are there for quite some time, and it's remarkable for a small company. We are representing more or less, I would say, 20 million euro turnover, so it's a typical German mid-sized company, and we have a joint venture in India running. For us, it's not possible to do power play like probably Airbus or Siemens could do. Our business relationship is founded on personal relationship. We have, of course, contracts and thick paperwork, but we never read it. Usually we do the business on a handshake base. And if you ask me for recommendations, then this is my recommendation: doing business with India. Do it on a personal relationship level. It's not a contract that counts. It's having people that you can trust, and people in India trust in you as well. That's our recipe. So contract is one thing, but the trust and the relationship is the other thing. We are a company that is doing electrical wiring harnesses, and this is a mainly manual kind of business. And India does not have the best, let me say, reputation as far as manual quality is concerned. And I can say I do not understand this reputation, because we are extremely happy with our people in India. We are proud of what they do. We are proud of how they do it. And we are happy to see their mentality, even in sustainability issues, to catch the previous auditorium. So we feel very, very comfortable. Our facility is located in Kanpur. This is in the state of Uttar Pradesh. This is the highest populated state in India. About 200 million people are living there. And we are not located in the, let me say, aviation hotspot that is rather in the south. The advantage for us is we are in the manufacturing and manual labor, and Uttar Pradesh is a good place for manual labor. So we are very, very happy with this location, what we choose, because it's the location of our JV partner. They are locally well familiar with the situation, and that helped us a lot. If you ask me, why did EIS choose India as a country to have their own business, then I can say number one is the legal system, and being in the biggest democracy, working in the biggest democracy of this world. India is not comparable to Europe, but it's a legal system we understand and we can rely on. Another aspect, at least for Germans, it's the language. Maybe a French person would prefer probably Vietnam, but we are extremely happy that we can make ourselves understood in English language. And in India, everybody, at least educated people, can easily read, write, and speak English, what is a very, very good advantage to do business. I was in other countries where you need translators. That is not really fun. It's not helping. Number three was sympathy. I like to be there. I like the people. Hopefully they like me and our company as well. I think this was a very, very important step to go to India, and I would not recommend to go there if you don't like people, because there is plenty of them. 1.3, I think they will catch up with China within the next couple of months or years. So it's 1.3 billion of people living there. Wherever you are, there are already hundreds of others. So you have to be accepting this situation, and this is an advantage for our business. I like the people in their habits and behavior. And of course, I like the cost structure. The cost structure is something I would say it's difficult to beat. You get good quality, educated people, people that are willing to perform and at a good cost structure, people that keep in the company. So we don't have the hire and fire to a big extent. We are very happy. And last but not least, India is a huge market. For us as a small company with services, it's difficult to tackle. But nevertheless, we got business from HAL and from the defense industry as well. So we are entering, even as a small company, the Indian market, and we are looking forward to getting deeper in the system. Next page, please. I like to mention this. You would not expect that India is more or less done with COVID. And if you look to the death rate, they had their maximum last summer. They are now down. They have a significant and I hope a sustainable downturn, whereas the developed countries like the US and Germany has a strong increase in these numbers. So India seems to be through. I would like to mention that from February 3 to 5, the Aero India fair, aviation fair, will take place in Bangalore with exhibition, with physical presence. So they are doing business where we are only doing virtual things. So India is, in my eyes, is a pretty good place to be as far as COVID is concerned. I think they're keeping hygienic and other criteria pretty well with what I would call Indian pragmatism. I like this pragmatism quite a bit, and I recommend to have your own judgment on this thing. It's not kind of unfriendly behavior. I don't have the graphic for France. I don't have it. Just that's the reason not showing it. Otherwise, I try to mention it as well. And both France and Germany has been hit hard by COVID over the last couple of months. And we don't see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel yet. So this is another good thing they could manage, surprisingly. Next page. Another thing to go into the, let me say, deep into the subject, we ask our JV partners, my friend Sumit and Niraj, what is your probably subjective assessment? I would not give this as an official statement. It's just our assessment. This is our smell, our let me say, our assessment. Yeah, what we see, how the market is behavior. So the domestic air travel is more or less on 80% on the pre-COVID level. So air traffic in India is taking place in big amount. So what is good for the A320 and sale of this kind of aircraft. International traffic is down to 10%, and I think same is true all over the world. So we have little international traffic and intercontinental traffic. Production, my Indian colleague said production has been hit hard, but it's increasing. It's mainly retail and restaurants that are still, I may say, they still have problems with COVID. Industry is more or less back to normal, or at least close to normal. This is the content of this. Engineering, their expectation is it's back to normal. Unemployment rate is slightly increased, maybe through the retail and the restaurant sector. I think production is pretty good in shape. The they have a problem with the let me say internal migration from one state to the other one. Some cost issues. You would expect probably that electrical power or other cost for power is increasing heavily. That did not happen. And last but not least, the exchange rate, the Indian rupee versus the euro. The Indian rupee lost some strength, but when we started in 2012, we had been told, watch the inflation rate in India. Yes, there is some inflation rate, but it's not really hurting the business in a big extent that it makes it difficult to work. So this is more or less my presentation. I would be open to any question from your side. The intent from my side is promote India. I like to be there. I recommend people to go there. I can even offer to come to us. We have some space available. We are just building a new facility, so there is room for services and there is expertise available in my company, in BDLI, and in me personally. So if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them now or by email or by phone when I'm back to office. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Burkhard, for this very, very positive view on India, on your experience in India. It's great to hear that you're so happy with your activities here, with the joint venture, because many companies have their doubts in terms of joint ventures. Good to hear that there is a very positive example. Yeah, when it comes to COVID, obviously, I keep my fingers crossed here that your assessment is right, that India is almost through with the pandemic. Yeah, I hope that will prove to be true over the next couple of weeks and months. And that kind of leads me to the first question. You already gave a little bit of an assessment as to where the industry stands, but still I would like to hear from all of you maybe a brief statement of expectation. I mean, we are in the middle, or hopefully more towards the end of the pandemic. The civil or the commercial aviation sector has been hurt a lot globally. When do you believe, not only in India but also here, when do you believe that we can go and see a return to pre-pandemic levels? Laurie, maybe you can start with your expectation or estimation.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, worldwide, Airbus is the kind of what we're actually considering as on a worldwide basis is that domestic traffic will not be back until 2023 and international by 25. However, having said that, we've seen a much quicker return to normality on domestic markets in both China and India. Burkhard mentioned already that it's back up, but I think your chart said 90%, 80 to 90% of the domestic network travel is now back and running, and this is absolutely the case. It's fantastic. The load factors on the aircraft, load factor actually is the number of sold seats versus the number of empty seats. Load factors are not back up at high levels yet, but they are increasing. But numbers of flights are back up 85, 90%, and this is absolutely fantastic. International travel, yes, it's still extremely messy. There is certainly the bubble flights, specific special agreements between specific special countries. India is certainly part of these bubble flight arrangements. But what we really need, you know, there's two things we really need to get the international sector moving again for flights. Certainly vaccines will be a big shot in the arm for the industry. This is absolutely certain, but that's going to take some time still before the confidence is back. The second thing that would really be helpful is to standardize worldwide for governments to kind of standardize and harmonize the ways of traveling and the rules and the regulations for moving cross-border. This is really going to help so much because the amount of confusion that exists at the moment, especially when rules are changing by the day. I can just give a little example. We had a team of people from Airbus in Toulouse who were traveling to Mumbai just last weekend or weekend before, and they were actually on board an Air France flight in Paris. They were on board, ready for departure. Received a WhatsApp to say the rules have changed in Mumbai. You now have to do mandatory 14 days quarantine. They got off. They exited the aircraft at the gate. Flight was delayed whilst they got their baggage back, etc., etc. 5 business class tickets lost for Air France and total confusion. And this, due to a rule change that happened from one minute to the next. So there's 2 things there, really. Help from governments worldwide to harmonize, standardize, clarify the rules for cross-border people movement. And of course, the shot in the arm for the industry from the vaccines.
Okay, thank you, Laurie. Thanks, Vincent. What would be your expectation?
Speaking after Laurie, Laurie has given some indications of when to expect a return to normalcy for air traffic. Of course, that's the same kind of figures that I hear also in GFAS. What we are trying to do right now is try to see how we can help our members cope with this downturn, economical downturn of activity, in the sense that though Airbus has been able to produce quite a significant number of aircraft in 2020, it's less than what was forecasted at the beginning of 2020. We were more in the range of 800 plus aircraft. And for the supply chain, which is downstream, and upstream, they had prepared already, they had the stock, they were ready to deliver that many parts were required for Airbus, by Airbus. So now, this supply chain is weakened, and we know that some of them are going through a very difficult situation. And our effort is to get everyone to either restructure or modernize their tool, their factories, and so that they come out of the crisis in a better position. On this one, I should say that we do have an exchange with our colleagues from BDLI. Both of us had the same approach of creating task force and see how we can accompany the smaller companies, what kind of emergency measures are required. And so we are right now in the middle of that. And what we are going on 2 fronts. One is to help mergers and acquisitions between companies. And this, of course, it's not within the French boundaries. International investors are welcome. And second is to modernize the companies. Using more digital solutions for the production, and also in the way their products are designed. So that's what we are trying to do at the moment. And we know that we have to prepare also for, already Airbus announced that they would increase the production rate in 2021 by the second part of the year. So already the supply chain is trying to prepare for that. We should say that it's important. So, having said that, we also need to keep contacts with, we need to be able to travel. And one of the big impediments is that if we want to send our technicians, either to India or from India to France, in Europe, it's a bit, it's quite difficult. And of course, the ever-changing regulations is not helping. That's definitely the biggest problem today. As it is right now, I don't know if it's the case in Germany, but now if you come in France, from a non-EU country, I mean, you will have to isolate for 7 days. And that's for, I mean, business, when we have business activities, it's of course not very, I mean, very easy to manage.
Almost prohibitive.
Yeah.
No. Thank you, Vincent. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but still, Burkhard, I saw you nodding vividly to everything that the gentleman has said. Still, is there anything you would like to add, maybe as a very, very final point from your side?
Well, I like the argument of the standardization. Worldwide, we have 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, and nobody knows. But this has been mentioned. BDLI is monitoring, in particular, the financial situation of the supply chain, in particular, the small and medium-sized enterprises. And these small companies turned out to be pretty robust financially. So we had only few insolvency dropouts. And I hope this will not start happening in the near future. So we think there is a recovery coming up in the next 12 months, or probably for intercontinental aircraft or wide-body aircraft later. But the situation seems to be more or less stable. I'm happy that Airbus has a big, and Boeing as well, but Airbus is, I think, our main target. We have a good backlog, and this gives stabilization for the production. So this is very good for our industry, that there is on a lower level, but there is stability to a certain extent. If I should give a recommendation, and as a final word, I would say, let's make use of the downtime, of the slow business. Let's focus on preparing for the future and not complain. We are all strong enough to handle. Stop complaining, start doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Burkhard. Of course, that would have already been a very, very good final word. I would like to thank you all. I would still like to continue the discussion. I mean, having been, a frequent flyer myself for the past 25 years, I would very much like to hear also what the future will bring in terms of civil and commercial aviation. What will the planes look like? Will we have electric propulsion? Will we have hydrogen-powered aircraft? Many, many things, because the technological development will not end here because of the pandemic. It will probably even be expedited by the current situation, as Burkhard said. But again, we're at the end of our panel. Thanks a lot. I take with me that that the industries between France, Germany, and India are already very well connected. That no flight leaves anywhere from any airport without parts and without services coming from India. And that, I think, with that, I would like to give back. There is one more thing, of course, which was stated by Laurie and confirmed by the other two gentlemen, and that is a task probably going back to the chambers, to IFCCI, to IGCC, and that is harmonization of travel regulations, because that would help everybody, not only the aviation industry, but all the industries, if we had a better situation there. So this is probably something that we can turn back in terms of advocacy. To all the participants, if you have further questions, it was already been offered, please contact the associations, contact the chambers, contact any of us. We'll be very happy to answer questions. We will be very happy to support you and exchange more information. And with that, and the big thanks to the three panelists, I would like then to give back to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan, for hosting this panel. I think it was a very interesting discussion, and more important is there's much more to learn and explore. Over to Payal, ex-Conver Director General IFCCI, to give her vote of thanks, please.
Thank you very much, Sonia. And I think I'd like to start by thanking you for being the perfect moderator, MC of this session. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank all of our speakers. I think it was a very engaging session. I know we started with about a little over 200 participants, and we are still with 150 as we speak. So that's an excellent sign, given that we are in a virtual age, and it's really not easy at times to keep everyone's attention. I think this was a wonderful session. And of course, I am positive that this is the first of many more to come. Thank you very much to the teams, both the teams at IGCC, at IFCCI, for working so well together and putting this program together. I'd also like to thank Alstom for supporting this event. And yes, we look forward to many more in the future. And back to you, Sonia, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Payal. I switch on my camera just to say it was an engaging discussion, and more important, to leave some thoughts with us to ponder over on the weekend. So this was not the last time that both the chambers cooperated. It's the first event which we do together, and I'm sure there are many more to come. And most important is that we're all desperately looking forward to some physical events, being done together. So thank you, members of the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, and thank you, members of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I would say exchange notes, work together, because we need a harmonized voice of the European business in India. And more important, if the first step can be initiated by the French and the German, I think that would pave the way for the rest of the other European nations also to come together, because I think we believe in India, we believe in the potential India has to offer. We might be making small and steady steps, but most important is there is a potential, and India's story is there to stay. And I'm glad that both German and French businesses, so if I look at 1,000 French company, Payal, you said, and 1,800, close to 1,800 German companies, I think we make a good, impactful business here from the EU. And we can encourage more EU companies to look at India as well. And we don't want to be the next China, but yes, there is a huge potential to be untapped here. So thank you all the attendees for being with us for nearly 2 hours, 15 minutes, or rather 20 minutes. And I think that was a lot of patience, but more important is that there was a willingness to listen to the French and the German business. So thank you, Payal. It was a pleasure cooperating, and thank you to the presidents, and more important, the messages from the ambassador, because I think they've highlighted the importance of the Franco-German friendship and the importance of these two chambers in promoting this friendship as well as cooperation, as well as successful participation for future as well. And so stay tuned for the next few weeks as well as months. If we do not meet personally very soon, physically face to face, we will continue to engage with all of you on various topics, and I'm sure we will find opportunities to work together again. So thank you, and yeah, have a nice weekend then. Thank you. Bye, all of you.